Hey everyone, it's Carissa. Thanks for joining me today. I hope you are having a fabulous 2017. For the January newsletter, I thought it would be fun to kick off the year with a little mix and match featuring some products from Concord 9th. Now, this is the Happy Card Frame die set. Now, this die set is really cool because it cuts the frame, but then these shapes can be suspended within that frame. This frame is specially designed to suspend these shapes within it. Now, Concord 9th, because they are smart people, have also designed add-ons to this frame. So this is the kind die add-on that you can suspend within that frame. Now, these dies are also cool because you don't have to suspend them within the frame. You can use them by themselves, and I'm going to show you that. And this stamp set here, which is the kind-hearted stamp set, coordinates beautifully with that kind die as well. Now, these products here were designed to work together as well. This is the Heart Smile stamp set and the Heartstrings die set. But I'm going to combine the two groups of products together and make a really fun card for you today. So I'm going to start out by separating these dies because I need the frame by itself and I need the little shapes by themselves as well. I'm not going to be using the shapes that came with the frame. I'm going to be using this kind one instead, but it comes with that happy sentiment that can be suspended in there, and it also comes with those flowers and then some fun little shapes that you can use on your cards as well. Now, you can suspend these shapes at either the top of the frame or the bottom of the frame. I'm going to be using the bottom of the frame today. And you notice that when I separated my dies, I didn't separate the frame. However, if you do want to separate the frame, you could just hold it together in the future with some masking tape or washi tape. And I'm holding that frame onto my Nina Solar White cardstock with just a little bit of delicate surface painter's tape. This has become one of my favorite things to hold dies in place because I've never had a problem with it tearing my paper, even if I don't kind of neutralize it on the back of my hand prior to. Now, like I mentioned before, this frame is specially designed to have these shapes suspended within it. So when you first cut the frame, you don't get the full frame cut out. You can see that the inside did not pop out. That's because these inner shapes complete the cut of that frame. So I've lined up the lines along the edge of that kind die there with the cut lines of the inner part of the frame and then run it through my die cut machine again. And you can see that completes the cut of the frame and leaves that word or that sentiment suspended within the frame. Super cool idea. And I'm going to show you here, you can use these die cuts on their own as well. So I'm going to cut that kind again out of some gold glitter cardstock, my favorite cardstock. And you're going to see here that all I have to do to get my word out of there is just take this over to my trimmer, and where that line or that slit is cut at the end of the sentiment, I'm just going to line that up with the trimmer edge, cut through that, and then I'm going to be left with the word kind on its own that I can use by itself. So I love products that are designed to work together, but I also love it when you can use them on their own as well. And this is the perfect example of a product like that. Now that I have those die cuts all completed, I'm going to go ahead and do a little bit of stamping on my card fronts. And what I've done there is I've just lined up my frame so I could see where I want to mask off. I'm going to stamp that big bold heart from that Heart Smile stamp set onto my card front. But I don't want the heart to extend beyond the edge of my frame. So what I've done is just taken a Post-it note and put it along that left edge of the card so that I could keep the heart from stamping over there. I've gone ahead and put this heart stamp onto my Misty because I knew that this was a big, bold stamp and I probably would not get a good impression the first time. And boy, was I right. So I'm just showing you here. When I have a big, bold stamp like that, I like to get it in position onto my block or my stamping tool like this Misty, and then I pull it up all the way to the outer edge. I keep that one edge down, and then I press it back down so that I don't have any air bubbles underneath it. That's just something that I like to do. And then to prep my stamp before I stamp it, I'm going to ink it up with some Versamark ink and then just rub it off with my hand and then rub that into my hands because I didn't have anything to wipe my hands on. And then I'm going to ink this up with Lawn Fawn Merman ink and then use my Misty tool to stamp this down. Now, my sleeves were rolled up today, so I couldn't pull them up over the heel of my hand, so I just grabbed a little dry cloth here, and I use that. I use this because it allows my hand to kind of glide over the surface of the MISTI. You can also use your sleeves like I normally do, and I'm just going to press that down onto the paper. Now, you can see I did not get a great impression the first time, and I expected that because I hadn't used the stamp before, and also it's a big, bold, large stamp. So what I did was I went ahead and re-inked my stamp. I left the paper in the exact same spot. I left the stamp in the same spot. And then I'm going to stamp it down again onto my card front and rub all over that stamp. And that gave me the impression that I was looking for. So I went ahead and did this on 2 card fronts. These card bases are made out of the Nina 110-pound cardstock. They're cut to 4 1/4 by 11 and then scored at 5 1/2. And you can see the 2 cards that I'm kind of building up there. Now, from this kind-hearted stamp set that I had before, it was all those ones with the little sub-sentiments that coordinate with that kind die. There's tons of sentiments in there. They can be used on their own or in coordination with the die that I'm showing you today. I used this People Are the Best sub-sentiment, and I went ahead and stamped it onto some black cardstock with some Versamark ink. Now, I went ahead and prepped the surface of my cardstock before I stamped it on there so that I wouldn't get any stray embossing powder where I didn't want it. I sprinkled on some superfine detail white embossing powder, and then I went ahead and heat embossed that sentiment and took it over to my trimmer and trimmed it down. That trimmer is great because you can see exactly where you're cutting along that aluminum rail. So I get precision cuts on all of these like little sentiment strips that I do all the time, and I love that trimmer. Now that I have like the die cutting and the stamping done, I'm going to go ahead and start the assembly process on these cards. So I've taken a double layer of this foam adhesive here and I've cut it into these super skinny little strips. Sometimes I have the patience for this, sometimes I don't. I've applied it to the back of that kind die cut that's kind of suspended within the frame. And then I added a double layer of the foam adhesive around the inside edge of that frame as well. Now, I've gone ahead and cut this heartstrings die because I thought it would be fun to kind of layer a vellum heartstring die cut here on top of that stamped heart that's on my card front. I thought it would just kind of be like a really fun effect to have that kind of muted and adds a little bit of texture to that heart as well. So I went ahead and applied that down with just a little tiny bit of this Zig 2-way glue pen. And then I cut 2 more of the kind die cuts, one out of some Earl Grey cardstock from Tailored Expressions. I knew I would come up with that. And then the other one is from Licorice Twist cardstock from Basil. And I'm going ahead and layering these behind that frame there to kind of create a shadowed effect. Then I went ahead and applied that down onto my card front, and I had to kind of adhere it with a little bit of multi-medium in the matte finish in a few places. So that's why you see that kind of set over to the side with that block on top of it to kind of allow that to set up. For the second card, I also adhered that vellum heartstring die cut right on top of that stamped heart. And I went ahead and trimmed the card front down to where it was about 3 1/2 by 5 1/2 inches. So it's 3 1/2 wide by 5 1/2 inches tall. That's my finished card size. And I thought it would be fun to emboss one of these hearts from that Heart Smile stamp set onto some vellum and adhere it onto that little heart that's in the middle of the heartstrings die. So I went ahead and did that. I hid some foam adhesive behind that embossing. And now I'm adding kind of a shadow layer to this gold glitter die cut as well. That's just out of that black cardstock. And I adhered that onto my card front with a double layer of foam adhesive as well. I'm just adding these little sub-sentiment strips that I created with the embossing powder earlier, and I added those on with some foam adhesive as well. Keep in mind, anytime I'm using foam adhesive, you could also use like a tape runner adhesive or a glue or something like that if you wanted less dimension. I just happen to like really big cards, so I tend to add a lot of dimension to my cards. Now you can see I added a couple strips of some black and white pattern paper. This is actually pattern paper that I created with a bold diagonal stripes background stamp from My Favorite Things. I showed that kind of to you in last month's Saturday, so if you want to see how I do that, you can check that out. And I finished both of the cards off by adding a little bit of sparkle with some sequins scattered on the front. And I added a layer of the Spectrum Noir clear glitter overlay onto this white die cut as well. So that completes my card projects for today. You can see I used that kind as a standalone and also within the frame as well. I love that all these products kind of are designed to work together, but you can use them on their own as well. As always, I will have links to all the featured products in the description at YouTube, and I will have a complete list of products over at the In Touch blog where you can also see more still shots and find more information. All of these products are available for purchase at ellenhudson.com. Thanks for stopping by today, and until next time, I hope you have a fabulous day.